everyone. Hi, can everyone hear me all right? Oh, brilliant. Right, it's 6 o'clock, so we will get started. So I do want to invite everyone to come sit down a bit closer, please. And we need the candidates in the seat. That would be helpful as well. Are you starting live in a second, Chris? Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Are you all right to sit at the front with us, Mike? Okay. Right, good evening everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight online and in the room, because we have got it running live on YouTube as well. Just a little bit of housekeeping first. We have got a fire exit straight out in front of us should an alarm go off. There's no fire alarm training drill expected tonight, so if it goes off we do need to leave promptly. The meeting point is just by the local chippy next door, just up the road, and we have got toilets round to our left. There are refreshments on as well, so please do help yourself to tea, coffee, water, biscuits. Appreciate everyone's coming out in the evening. My name is Louise Lewis, and I'll be chairing tonight's Ashbrow Ward candidates debate. So this event has been organised to give residents the opportunity to hear directly from the people standing to represent Ashbrow in the upcoming elections. It is an all-out election, so for the first time in a long time, residents will have the opportunity to vote for 3 candidates. So local elections matter because they affect the decisions made by our communities, local services, neighbourhood priorities, and the issues that impact daily life. Tonight it's about creating a space where residents can hear from candidates directly, they can ask questions, and get a better understanding of the priorities and perspectives of those who are seeking election. So I'd like to thank all the candidates for attending tonight and for being willing to engage openly with the community. That means a lot. As chair, my role this evening is to ensure the discussion remains fair, balanced and respectful. Each candidate will be given an equal opportunity to speak of 5 minutes, and I will ask that we all work together to maintain a positive and constructive atmosphere. The format for tonight will begin with short introductions from each candidate, followed by questions from the audience. Right, so our first candidate who's going to speak is, I did say alphabetical order, so we've got Mike Forster, who's an independent candidate. It's up to you, you can sit on the seat or you can...
Good evening all, thank you for coming, and can I extend gratitude to Kirklees Local TV for hosting tonight's event, and also to the candidates that have turned up, and I'm disappointed that the others have chosen not to come. Some of you might know me, but I'm not a politician. I'm a community activist and I'm a campaigner. I have a proud record of campaigning to keep open Huddersfield Royal Infirmary. It took us 4 years when they tried to shut the hospital before we beat them back, took them to court, saved the hospital and also the accident and emergency centre. I've also been heavily involved in the campaign to save the dementia care homes, which the council wanted to close. And relatives asked me if I could help them with that campaign. I was chair of their organising committee, and I'm pleased to say that we beat the council back and the dementia care homes are still open. I've also been involved in the campaigns to keep open our sports centres, and I'm pleased that we kept open 5 of the sports centres that the council wanted to close, but it's to the shame of this Labour council that Beaton Sports Centre down the road was closed, and at the moment we are campaigning to try and reopen Dewsbury Sports Centre. I want to say something about the unequal society in which we live, because the government is telling you they have no money. The council is telling us They have no money. But there are some figures that may startle you, but you'll probably say it doesn't surprise me. The top 100 oil and gas companies since this war against Iran began have made $30 million an hour. $30 million an hour. That's $254 billion by the end of this year. Where's that money going? I'll tell you who's giving them that money. We are. I think it's high time that they were taxed on the profits that they're making, because they haven't to do anything other than, like a cash machine, take the money off us as the cost of oil goes up. About 40 billion extra pound has been made by the British energy firms over the last 2 years. Never mind one windfall tax, we should be taking windfall taxes off them all. I'm giving you these figures because you keep being told that we have to pay for this crisis. Supermarkets, where prices are expected to go up by 10%, made £10 billion profit last year. Why? Because prices have gone up and they're taking more money off you. The government is spending £73.5 billion on arms this year, but we have no money. I could go on, but in reality, we have an unequal society, because as you know from your experience, or watching what's going on in the news, the average pay of chief executives in Britain of the top 100 companies is £5 million a year. That's 113 times more than the average wage of people in this country, the average wage. Banks hit record profits because interest rates have gone up at £45.9 billion. If you're racking up all these figures, this country is not skinned. We're skinned. The super rich have never been richer. And in the news yesterday, they said there are going to be more billionaires by the end of this decade. And what will they do with their money? Send rockets into space? Spend it on trivial projects? But in reality, who needs that amount of money? We do. We need those resources to be equally distributed around communities that need them. The council's revenue, because this is a council election, have had their revenue slashed by previous governments over the last 10 years by 1/3. And yet governments can find money for wars and fail to tackle inequality at the top. It's all wrong. In fact, money is being taken from the wrong people. It's been taken from us. £20 million a year for the last 8 years has been cut by this council from council spending. This year, £10 million more will be slashed from public services. Your council tax is going up again, and it will go up again for the next 2 years by 5%. And also, of course, they put up the school meals, they put up the rents, and they put up the car park charges. So when is this council going to say enough is enough? Because that's what I'm saying to people on the doorstep. And yet, the council has found £36 million in their back pocket to go to a private company to renovate the George Hotel. Have you all enjoyed going into that hotel? Well, it's not opened yet. But that's your money that they've given to the George Hotel. And we hear a few days ago they want to spend £26 million together with the West Yorkshire Combined Authority on a brand new bus station. And I was talking to some young people the other night, and they said, we don't need a new bus station. We need youth services. Why are they wasting this money? Now, Starmer began by attacking the elderly with the winter fuel payments, and here, disgracefully, this council decided that they were going to close 2 dementia care homes at Castle Grange and Claremont House, and I'm proud to say I was involved in the campaign to stop them. They tried to axe your sports centres, and they were prevented from doing so. And they've written off debts to the tune of £750,000, but they've written to Kirklees Active Leisure, they've written off more debts of nearly £15 million to all kinds of companies, and even those that don't pay the council tax. So my argument is this: we need fighting councillors who put people first. We have to stop a handful of cabinet members who run this council, who were led by a chief executive who is paid £177,000 a year, and his 3 executive directors are paid an average of £145,000. That's money wasted, in my opinion. We have no democracy in Kirklees Council. Ask the people what they want, and they will tell you, because they're telling us on the doorstep. So, Kirklees Council, get off your knees and demand more resources. Get more money from the government, and let's stop playing by the rules that they set and instead by the rules that people want, which is resources for the community and not for the rich.
Thank you, Mike. Our next speaker is James Homewood, who is the current councillor for Labour and is speaking on behalf of Labour. Thank you, James.
Hello everyone and good evening. Thanks very much for coming. So I'm going to focus really on some local matters and introduce myself. So as Louise said, I'm the current councillor. I've been a councillor here for the last 10 years. My main sort of principles, or the reason why I'm a Labour Party member, are because I believe in fairness, equality and equal opportunity. And those are the principles that drive me forward as a councillor. That's what I'm thinking of as a councillor when I'm doing my role. I first became a councillor 10 years ago, and I put myself forward for that because I worked with other Labour councillors in the area. I saw the things that they'd done in the area, for example, around the Deaton Brackenhall initiative, a lot of the investment that we'd had locally, and I saw what a difference it could make to be a councillor and the things that you could achieve, and I wanted to do some of that. And I wanted to serve the community, and that's why I put myself forward, and that's why I'm putting myself forward again today. So, if I was elected as a councillor, what would I do? So the first thing is I would listen to what residents have got to say. I always listen to people, take on board your comments, and I also would tell you the truth. So if you ask me to do something that I can't deliver, I will tell you that. And if I don't agree with you, I'll also tell you that, and we can have a discussion, and I think transparency is the best way to behave. The second thing that I do is be a strong voice for you on the council. I've been a councillor for 10 years. I think I've maybe missed one council meeting in that time. I'm always there. I always raise the views that residents have given to me, the things that are important to Ashbrow, and that's what I'll be continuing to do. In terms of locally, as councillors, we have a ward budget that we can invest. So the things that I would be looking to support in the local area would first be youth services and initiatives. I think it's important that we give people a good start in life, so that's something that I always think we should be investing in. The second thing is our cultural and community events. I think that's the lifeblood of what the community is about, our carnival, our summer fairs, things that we do. We all want to have a good time, and I want to invest in those, and I've been supporting those over the last 10 years and will continue to do so. The other thing that I'd be looking to support is our community buildings. I think it's really important to have community buildings and assets because that's where we can get together and do things like we're doing today. Places like here in the Chestnut Centre and Northfield Hall, I'd continue to support those things. In terms of more broadly, I actually think the stuff that the council is doing in the town centre and the redevelopment of the town centre is really, really critical and important. If you speak to any residents, maybe not yourself, but over the years I spoke to a lot of residents. One of the things that we get the most feedback on is that we want a town centre we can be proud of. We want a place to go that we can enjoy, and that's why the council's investing in that. And I would dispute some of the stuff that Mike said, because if you think about the George Hotel or some of those, that's capital investment. And actually, in the case of the George Hotel, that will have a return on that investment when it's operating. It's not the same. It's not the same money that can be used for other sort of revenue spending, and that's a misunderstanding that a lot of people have about how the council finances work. But perhaps we'll come on to that in more detail later. The other part I want to say is that, as a councillor, yes, we've got the community aspect of the role. There's also about running the council and getting things done. So for the last 10 years, I've been on lots of committees, chaired lots of committees. I've got a lot of experience, and I'll be doing that. Tomorrow morning, I'll be at the audit committee in the town hall. It's not the most exciting thing you can do on a Friday morning, but it's important. We need people there who are doing that role, scrutinising the finances, managing the corporate governance of the council. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on was about the governance of the council and the Labour group and what we've been doing. So we have been running the council for a number of years, but over the last 2 years as a minority. And actually, the reason we're doing that is because there isn't any other group on the council who can or wants to run the council. That's why we've been taking that responsibility. And what we're doing, so the things that our plan is, firstly, get the basics right. We understand that not everything's perfect. We can improve things, whether it's about potholes, how quickly we deal with potholes, how quickly we clear fly tipping, being just more responsive generally. I think that's what residents want. They want the council to be more responsive when they're in contact with the council. That's the sort of stuff we're focusing on. Where we're focusing on things like how we give opportunity to everyone, so that from employment to training, skills, and from education, training into employment. That's what we'll be focusing on. We want to make sure that we support our most vulnerable residents. So, for example, if you just look here in Ashbrow, we've got a new extra care facility off Ashbrow Road, Ashview. That's something the council's delivered. We've got a new special educational needs school just being built just down the road. Those are the things we continue to do as a Labour council. Yeah, and like I said, about economic growth and regeneration. So we've got all that stuff we do in the town centre, but there's also a big economic growth zone in Huddersfield. There's massive amount of investment potentially coming into Huddersfield and jobs coming to Huddersfield. The critical thing that we need for that is a strong and stable council, because no company wants to come to a council area where they don't have confidence the council is being properly run and is stable. And so that's why I do not think it would be a good thing to have lots of independent councillors on the council and no groups running it. Right now on the council we have 14 independent councils and 3 different independent groupings. Independent councils will not work together even to form one group on the council right now. I do not see any likelihood of them running the council. So, all that being said, I hope that on the 7th of May you'll be able to support me and my colleagues Amanda and Serena. Thanks.
Very timely. Thank you, James. Our next speaker is Martin Price from the Green Party. Thank you, Martin.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me to these hustings today. It's not something that I'm used to doing. I have done business meetings in the past, and this is just a little bit different. So, my name is Martin Price. I'm an engineer, an environmentalist, and a Christian. I've been a director of 2 companies, obtaining significant experience in many aspects of business in the UK, America, and in China. I've worked in Ashbrow for over 20 years for a leading local company who exported high quality products across the globe. I also worked in rural Africa for 6 years in my younger days, in partnership with local communities on projects such as clean water supply, sanitation, and building schools. I saw drought, real poverty, starvation during that time. Those images will never leave me. Greens are not like other political parties. We bring hope. Labour and Reform are both backed by billionaires and take money from oil and gas, private healthcare, gambling and arms companies. They work for them, not for you. Greens are not funded by billionaires, big businesses, foreign crypto influencers. All our funding comes from Green Party members in the UK. Why am I here? I want to represent the whole community of Ashbrow on Kirklees Council. Ashbrow is a vibrant, diverse, multicultural community with problems and issues that need to be addressed. The cost of living crisis, social care crisis, potholes, fly tipping, antisocial behaviour, and many more. The best way to do that is working together with hope in our hearts. Cost of living. The government has a warm homes scheme running from 2025 to 2028. This scheme was available to all councils, with the majority of councils nationwide taking up the offer of central government funding. This was to provide free wall, loft and underfloor insulation, air source heat pumps and solar panels an upgrade to the warm home scheme that was running Kirklees for 7 years, and which my house did actually. I got cavity wall insulation and loft insulation as part of the warm home scheme that was instigated by the Green Party when we had one Green councillor, and Labour needed that one Green councillor to vote with them. And the price was a warm home scheme that cost £11 million and insulated thousands of homes across the whole of Kirklees. It also created lots of jobs because Kirklees people did the work. That's the same with this scheme the government is currently running. Unfortunately, Kirklees Council decided it was not for the residents of Ashbrow and Kirklees. They did not apply for the funding. A bit of paperwork has cost council taxpayers dearly. We cannot now benefit from this scheme. I tried last night and it says, your council is not taking part in this scheme. Calderdale got 3.2 million, Bradford 7.1 million, Leeds 5.9 million and Wakefield 1.5 million. Having local people do that work on our houses is a win-win. It's a lose-lose, unfortunately, now. Okay. Care homes. The council is selling off the last 2 care homes that they had as a cost-cutting measure. I have first-hand experience of dementia care homes. My father spent the last 2 years of his life there before he died last year. He was lucky to earn enough during his career to pay for his care in the care home. But many in our society do not have that luxury. Adult social care is the council's responsibility, but also central government. Central government have been Tory or Labour. The council has been Labour. They have not fixed the problem. Talking about, and their only option appears to be privatisation. Privatisation. I wonder how that's going with the water companies. Bills are going up. Pollution in the lakes and rivers and seas is never ending. Why? The shareholders are getting the money and the investment is not going into our system. The water companies need to be taken into public ownership, and that is Green Party policy, and it won't cost a penny. Okay. We hope that the Conservative Downing Street parties, Boris Johnson's sleaze and the incompetence of Liz Truss was a thing of the past, but no. Labour and the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal rolls on and on and on. Reform, meanwhile, are taking the cues from another former Epstein associate, Donald Trump. Move to an insurance-based funding for the NHS, where you'll pay or you don't get treated. The Greens have got a Labour MP, we've now got a Green MP in Gorton and Denton, taken from Labour. We also had Rob Yates got elected to Kent County Council 2 weeks ago from Reform. Greens can win. When Greens are in the room, things happen. Thank you.
Right, thank you for everybody's contribution there. It's really helpful to hear from all of the candidates. I am going to now invite people from the room to be able to ask questions. I won't necessarily do a first hands up first if everyone's got them up, because I do want to make sure there is a gender balance, age balance, etc. So we've got questions from across a range of people. I do want to remind you that this is a respectful debate. We want positive contributions. Please do ask candidates that you are thinking about voting for questions to highlight their work. ask candidates questions to find out more about them, to help you make informed decisions. So I know I had a hand up here and a hand up there, so I'll take a few questions at a time and then I'll invite everyone to respond. If you can keep your response to about a minute, please, so we can get loads and loads of questions in. I appreciate that. That might be tricky for some. Yeah. That's up to you. Don't have to. Is that? Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nina Thomas. I'm the local youth worker for this area, so I'm speaking on behalf of the young people because they're a little bit shy. So one of the questions, we've got two questions, if that's okay. Oh no, that's better. I can use my voice. That's fine.
Well, just the people in the room on the line, sorry. So if you put yours back on, I think they put two on. I'm just trying to.
Is that on? Oh, is that on? Okay. Can everyone hear me? Is that okay? So the first question is, what are you going to do to support young people in terms of jobs within the area from a young person's point of view after they finish college? Do I need to direct it for someone?
No, just
Yep.
questions.
Yep. And then the second one is, what is your plans to support young people in the area in terms of accessing more support, youth clubs and things like that? And there was a third question, and it was about reducing drugs and knife crime within the area as well. So there was the three questions kind of around youth facilities, I suppose.
Because we've had three questions, I'll let you answer them before I go on to the next. No, that's absolutely, no, it's good, please do. So we'll go in the order of who spoke. So Mike, James, Martin. I'll just bring a mic to you so you don't have to keep getting up so we can get.
Okay, thanks for the question, Nina, and the young people who are with you. I'm very disappointed that youth services have been slashed by this council. We've lost all the youth clubs, and my commitment, it will be to fight for extra resources to get those youth centres back open. Like I said, I was speaking to young people only the day before yesterday who were saying we've got to prioritise youth services over new bus stations if there has to be a priority. And I think that will address the other two questions that you've asked. Around jobs, because that helps to create opportunities for young people if they're skilled up in the youth centres, and clearly also around the whole issue of crime. If we have a preventive approach, we're going to be able to tackle it. If we're tackling it when the crime is already committed, we've lost the argument. So preventive services are critical. I used to work in this area for 10 years when it was Fartown High School across all of the schools, and those were my priorities when I was here. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the question. So I'll cover a couple of things. So in terms of the youth services, so like I said before, I'm going to make sure that I'm investing the money that I have in the local area. So to give you some examples, in the past, I provided support and investment into this building, into the top club for the youth centre that we've got here. I'm currently the chairperson at Northfield Hall, and we're trying to do as much as we can to turn that into a youth hub. So that's something that I'll be continuing to do if I'm elected. Well, probably if I'm not anyway, because I'll be the chair, so I can't really get out of that one. But I'll be doing that too. And just on the other question about how we get people into employment. So actually, I know there's some negative stuff, but in terms of the government actually gave us some more money in our funding this year. One of the things we spent it on is money into apprenticeships in the area. So I think that's something that we keep doing. In terms of the crime and policing, we've had some actually really good results in terms of reduction of crime because of the work that we've been doing. So I think the key thing is about working together with the police, council, local services, local groups to really do that. And what we need to do is make sure people have confidence in the police because for too long people in this community haven't had that confidence for good reason, and we've needed to build up that understanding. I think we've made some progress, still more to do, but that's what I'll be focusing on.
In terms of youth clubs, I've been a youth club leader for 15 years. so I know exactly how important youth clubs are, and other sports groups, for example, rugby clubs and things, getting a focus on young people, and that certainly helped me when I was young as well, and we need more of that. Maybe a sports centre reopening might help. In terms of jobs from college, I was an apprentice engineer, and so I managed to get a job, and I was doing day release, and that took 5 years to get my apprenticeship. That's when apprenticeships were really long, and it was really tough, and I didn't earn a lot of money. Unfortunately, at present, there's a little loophole that if you get an apprenticeship and you're in a household that's on benefits, you could lose up to £349 per week, because that young person is defined as being employed rather than being cared for. That is so wrong, so wrong, because some of those young people are turning those jobs down because they don't want to do it, and that's got to change really quick. HMRC, I believe, are looking at it, but it needs sorting out. Certainly agree with my colleague here in terms of, from a police point of view, we do need to work with the police, but you need the community has got to be coherent, and it's not just one person that can sort it, it's a whole community thing.
Thank you. I've got a question here. And if you can pass the mic behind you, far corner afterwards. No, you're right.
Right, you can hear me now, thank you. Yeah, my name's Cormac Kelly, and I'm a supporter of PACE, and obviously a supporter of Mike, who I think has got an absolutely unbelievable record. I mean, you go down the street, any street in Huddersfield, and eventually you'll come across somebody who comes up,
Sorry, if we could keep
shakes his
questions,
hand.
please.
My question is simply this, to all three. Local government has lost billions of pounds in money and resources taken away by particularly the last Conservative government, and has continued under the present government. And I'd like to know what kind of campaign, what kind of steps would you take to get some of that money back? How would you go about ensuring that Kirklees Council was properly financed should you be elected as a councillor?
Hi, yeah, I'm Matt. James at the beginning talked about creating, I actually want to ask the audience this question if I could first, to begin with. James talked about creating economic growth zones. Does anyone here feel like they're in an economic growth zone? Please put up your hand if you do. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I mean, we're supposed to be getting wealthier, better off. I mean, you know, it's been outlined that, you know, the council this year passed 10 million worth of cuts. Now, my dad used to have a saying that, you know, the government will take with one hand and give with the other. But right now, it seems that they're taking with both hands. They're making 10 million worth of cuts. This is on top of the cuts they've been making it over the last few years. They're putting his council tax up. They're putting his parking up. They're putting his rents up. Yeah. So I want to ask those candidates, all of them, you know, what are you actually going to do? I mean, people talk about having a balanced budget and everything like that. These things can be challenged, these reserves that the council can use. But when are we actually going to see funding coming into our communities rather than being sucked out of the communities?
Right. I'll take one more question.
Bonjour, hi. You know the insulation Green Party you were speaking about? Yeah. Well, I just live across the road there, and but either house, they wanted to do my house, but they messed up both houses, with it, like they wrecked them, they nearly blew up their houses. But can I just ask, why does the council pay for insulation when someone owns the house?
Thank you. And I'll come to Mike first, James first, and then Martin. So we've got a few questions there.
Thanks. I think the first two questions were very similar. I outlined earlier that, well, it's now £190 million has been cut from the council budget by successive governments, Tory and Labour. And when people voted Labour, they thought there would be some change. But still, the cuts keep coming. So the council is underfunded. Now, councils in the past have fought to get resources back. And I think councillors, instead of saying, right, well, we have to balance the budget, which means, to translate that, means making cuts. So this Labour council voted to shut your sports centre in Deaton. This council voted to shut the dementia care homes. And unfortunately, this council has voted to impose another £10 million of cuts, and we're not quite sure where that will fall. And at the same time, the council tax has gone up. And thousands of people are saying on the doorstep, what are we getting for that? And my response is no. So councillors have to stand up and demand of the government they want more resources. And I would suggest they launch campaigns across the whole of the town, specify what they need to spend the money on, which has come from our young members here on youth services, on reopening the sports centres, on reopening the dementia care homes. And we ask the community if they will join the council in demanding those resources. There's no easy answers, but this is a government that's supposed to be listening. I don't think they are. But nevertheless, this is a government that's supposed to be listening, and they will listen when they come under pressure. We proved that with the HRI campaign. We put the Tory government under pressure. We took them to court. They caved, and we got a new A&E and kept the hospital. The council caved when we put them under pressure around the dementia care homes, and they were kept open. And then, as my colleague has said, they decided it would be a better idea to privatise them. I'm not going to talk about what that is going to mean. So you can get more resources, you can fight, and you can win, but if you do nothing, you're always going to lose.
Okay, a few things. So firstly, we obviously lobby for more money from government all the time, regardless of the government, and we've actually had increase in funding in the last year, and the reason for that is because Labour in national government looks at things on a needs base, so we actually take into consideration things like deprivation and poverty in terms of how we allocate funds to local governments, so that's why we've seen increased funding. But I think we need to be really serious for a moment about the council finances and how things work. What Mike's saying sounds great. Okay, we'll just ask for more money and then we'll just get that money next week. That's not the reality of how the world works and how things work. And the point is that at the most recent budget, we had a situation where a number of parties, mainly independents, would not engage with the budget process and wouldn't support coming to an agreed budget. We were very close to not having a passed balanced budget in the council. If that had happened, the next day, the finance officer at the council would have had to alert government to that, and immediately the government would have appointed a commissioner to come down and run our services for us with no input from elected councillors. Because of the damage that would have been caused from making that decision, we would have had to make cuts, and most likely the government would have given the commissioner the ability to raise council tax by more, potentially 10% or more. And you see that if you look at other councils that are in financial difficulty, that are getting additional support, all of their council tax is going up by 9, 10, 12%. So try what you're saying, but what will happen is cuts to services and worse outcomes for residents. We can have a debate about how we should fund local government. Should we fund it in a better way? Should we have wealth taxes? Should we do things fairer? I think that's a great debate to have, but it's a national debate, and it's one we'll be having down in Westminster, not in Kirklees Council Chamber. And if I can just say something quickly about the care homes, I understand why people are upset about care homes, and I understand that if you're a user of a care home and your relatives in there, you're concerned if there's changes in that process. I get that. But what the council's got to think about in its budget is, at the moment we had 2 dementia care homes. All the rest of the provision is privately provided already. The majority of people are getting private provision. The council's taken a decision of how best can we spend the money that we do get. If we can save money there, we can spend money on things like the dementia daycare facility that we've just got in Murfield. That's the decision. That's a hard decision that's being made. We're trying to make sure that less people need to go into residential care, or at least can stay in their home for longer. That's what we're investing in. So I think we need to think about it more sensibly and think about how we actually use the budgets that we've got, and that's what I would be doing.
In terms of the first question, in terms of how do you get more money for the council from the government, it's a very difficult one. And Tory and Labour governments have dodged it. And the social care has got worse and worse and worse, to the point that social care is one of the biggest drains on the council services. And through austerity, they reduced the amount of money that came to councils as well. So the councils just got squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. So Westminster's got a lot to answer for. And I think they're answering for it now, because the Conservative Party has almost disappeared. Labour are going to have a real problem at the next general election. And that's part of the reason why I'm standing. Sorry. And that's why I'm standing, because we need an alternative to those two parties. The two-party state is finished. And come the council elections on the 7th of May, Labour are going to lose so many seats and so many councils. It's going to be ridiculous. So somehow it's got to change in Westminster to then have a rationalisation across all the councils. From an economic growth zone point of view, we need to have more partnerships with industry. I've worked with industry. Public-private partnerships are a great way. If there's something that the company needs and the council can partner with them, then you can harness money and make it go a lot further. There's lots of different ways of that happening in lots of different industries without the council selling out. In terms of the question about paying to insulate the houses that you already own, this...
Sorry, can we not jump?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So the whole idea of the Warm Homes project is England, Great Britain, has got some of the worst housing stock in Europe. They're old, they're leaky, they're cold, and it's one way of trying to upgrade some of that housing stock to reduce the costs that people pay in heating. And heating, gas and electric is going through the roof. We need to build better houses that are better insulated, and unfortunately, we seem to keep building houses that are C-rated. And we shouldn't be building them at C-rated, we should be up to B and A, and there's A+ as well. You can run an A+ house for a family of 4 on a 2 kilowatt heater because it's so well insulated. The council's not paying for it, the council's managing it. The money's coming from central government, and it's a grant from government to the council to improve the local environment. So it's a government grant that you're getting to upgrade the houses. She owned the house. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, we've got a question, 2 questions online, and then I know I've got there was a question over there first, second, and then I'll come to you two in the next round. So we've got Skippy online who's asked, many residents feel disconnected from local politics. How will you ensure ongoing communication and accountability with constituents beyond election time? And the second question is, Ashbrow is a diverse community, including vulnerable and underrepresented groups. What concrete steps will you take to ensure all voices are heard and supported in local decision making? Thank you. And then, no, the first one.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a local resident here, and I've got a couple of questions, one directed at the councilman and one at the gentleman on the right. For the councilman, I heard recently that with the George Hotel renovation costing £37 million, they're then later on planning on selling it to the private group Radisson Blu hotel chain group, which I think would then mean that they would then get most of the profits after that renovation's been done. So I wanted to know, is that the case, and is that what you're going to do, is just sell it onto Radisson? And for the gentleman on the right, I saw a leaflet come through my door that I don't know much about when they tried to close Huddersfield, but apparently there was that big hands-off HRI campaign. Apparently you were the one to save Huddersfield Hospital, and I was wondering how you did that and organised, and how you can continue doing things like that in the future.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm Mary, and I live at the bottom of the hill here, and I came about just over 20 years ago. And usually I was brought up as a socialist, and I've tried to support the Labour team as much as I could. But recently I have discovered that we don't have any more meetings. I did contact one of the councillors, it wasn't James, but I was told we don't have any more Ashbrow meetings of the general public because of the COVID, and we weren't able to come together in groups, but I can't see that happening. And so I'm just wondering if any of you would be happy to resume meeting up with people from the area and discussing things on a regular basis. I used to come regularly. And also I've discovered that there's something to do with a cabinet. I understood that we voted for people, and now I understand there's a cabinet who actually make most of the decisions. Well, I don't think that's fair. I think all the decisions should be made by all the councillors. So I'm just asking what you would do about that.
Thank you. We'll give you a chance to say back to Mike.
Okay, that was a lot of questions. Thank you for the online questions from Skippy. Ongoing communication, and yes, there are a lot of vulnerable and marginalised communities. And then there was the question about hands-off HRI, and believe it or not, they run into each other. Because the way that we held an effective campaign to save your hospital is it wasn't me. We set up local groups in every area who helped to organise the people in their area to raise funds to take a legal challenge. And what's lacking, and it touches on the question that Mary just asked, is that the local area feels that they don't have a voice. So what I would like to see happen in every local area of this ward, that I would go into the area and say, come on folks, we need to get together. I know that you've got issues and problems. People have been talking to me about them for the last 5 weeks. Let's get together, elect a committee. All these different local committees come together so that you all can amplify your voices and take the issues that you have back to us as councillors and also to the full council. That's how I would try to organise it, and that's how we were effective with Hands Off HRI. We had 8 local area groups that kept the communication going. We put out monthly newsletters, and I think that's what people would like to see, regular newsletters updating them on what is taking place. The cabinet system that Mary talked about, you have to go to the council meetings to witness how the cabinet system works. In my opinion, it's corrupt because the cabinet makes the decisions and people like James, who's been sitting on the council, generally doesn't get a vote. As does Tanisha, who's an independent councillor here today. They don't get a vote because the cabinet has made the decision. And there's a handful of cabinet members there who are guided by the leader and the deputy leader of the council, along with the chief executive whose salary I've outlined. That's wrong. And we've got to go back to a system where the council makes the decisions, and that would have to be one of my priorities if you decide to elect me.
Thank you. Can you just remind me what was your question again? I've just... Oh, the George Hotel. Yeah, I remember. Okay, so I'll come to the George Hotel first. So I don't think that's correct. It's going to be the plan is for it to be operated by Radisson Blu, which is the partner that's run the hotel. But I just wanted to say one thing about the George Hotel. Right, when I was first a councillor in 2016, we had reams of people, probably people who are now campaigning for Mike, and all sorts of people who said the council must do something about the George Hotel. It's been bought by someone. It's been closed down. The council isn't doing anything. The council said, hang on a minute, we need to do due diligence here. We can't just come on and purchase a property. We need to make sure we can do it right. They went through those stages. They took it on. They're now doing all the work that's needed for listed building status to get it back open as a hotel at the centre of Huddersfield. And now the criticism is, why have you done that? Why have you spent taxpayers' money on that? You can't win, basically. And I think we should be dealing with... The George Hotel is a really important part of Huddersfield. It's massive in our history. I think it's absolutely right that the council has invested some money in that. And actually, when it's operating as a hotel, it'll make plenty of that money back and it'll be good for Huddersfield. So that's why we've done that. In terms of the stuff about the engaging with the community and what Mary said as well, absolutely. So first off, the things I do as a councillor is obviously I go door knocking, I speak to people. All councillors like myself, I'm sure it'll be the same for everyone. We're accessible, we can be phoned at any time, we'll come out to any meeting, we're here now. So that's how I would connect with people. I agree we've absolutely got to engage with all communities as well. The hardest to reach stuff, I think sometimes it's just like, oh, well, we'll only go to certain places. No, we do need to see that. We need to go to the community groups, we need to engage with them too. And to Mary's point, she's quite right. We used to have a ward meeting for residents, and it was stopped during COVID because of the social distancing and stuff like that. It absolutely could start again now. What we need is people who want to join. So sometimes we didn't have a lot of people that came. Sometimes people prefer to come when there's an issue that they want to discuss rather than being there all the time. But that's absolutely something I would be happy to do as a councillor. And just one thing I would say about the decision making on council and cabinet and stuff like that. So yes, you could, and you could move to having we could have moved to having a committee system. I think at the moment we're not allowed to do that. It's been prohibited. But the problem with committee systems is that it requires all councillors to be on the decision-making bodies. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase decision by committee, and the fact that it basically means that decisions don't get taken, they take too long and nothing happens. And that is the problem with the committee system. It means decisions aren't taken quickly. Also, they haven't had a committee system at Kirklees since I've been there, but what I understand in the background that what actually used to happen in committee system is that you'd have a chair appointed for the committee. Because of the nature of it, those decisions would be made in the background anyway, and they'd just be rubber stamped at a meeting. So I don't actually think committee system was any more transparent. The idea of having a cabinet is that you have clear decision making and accountability. And let's face it, as I've said before, Labour running the council currently is a minority administration. At any point, any of the other parties are working in combination could have chosen to remove the Labour cabinet and have their own cabinet. They've not done that. So I don't think that's the key issue here.
To start with, Mary, I agree totally. There should be ward meetings. It's a great way to communicate, and I can't believe they're not happening, to be honest. From a Green Party point of view, we like to stay connected with people when we're elected. So, for example, in the Newsham ward, they deliver a newspaper 2 or 3 times a year to all the residents to say what's going on top of whatever happens council-wise. It's really important that Green councillors are embedded in the communities. And that's what I'd do if I'm elected along with my 2 colleagues. Between the cabinet and the committee, it sounds like nothing works at Kirklees, whether it's cabinet or committee. The Green Party tried to set this election that we're currently having to be a referendum on changing from a cabinet system to a committee system. And we joined up with the Lib Dems, and we were in the process of getting the number of signatures that we needed to submit to Downing Street so we could have that as an electable on the election ballot for this election. The government just stamped on it, because it might have been a little bit more democratic maybe, and it would have forced parties to work with each other, whereas the Labour cabinet is quite happy to just go off and do its own thing. It's not a question of the other parties kicking them out. it's then not listening to the other parties. So we'll see what happens in this election. It could be really difficult in terms of who's going to be the biggest party and how it's going to be organised from a cabinet point of view. But whatever happens, we've got to work together.
Thank you. We've got 5 minutes left, so we have got a few more questions. So if we're quick and keep them straight to the point in your questions, please.
Thank you. And can I just use my voice? Have I got to use this?
Online.
I've got to do that. Right, sorry. Hello. Right. Thank you all of you for coming. And I think it's been really good to have 3 people coming to talk to us as residents. And we note the parties who are not here as well, who can't be bothered to even talk to us. I really do want to talk about Ashbrow as our local ward and the local issues here in our Ashbrow ward. There are many national issues which are important, which you've all touched upon, but I don't think we can solve them here in Ashbrow. We already know quite a lot about what our councillors do because we get regular newsletters from them 2 or 3 times a year, and we can always ring them up and speak to them whenever we need to. I volunteer at the community centre at the bread and butter thing, and we've been extremely grateful for the help that we've had from our local councillors. My question is, what community support is going to come online? What do each of you think is the best community support we can have with the local resources that we have?
Hello, I'm Owen, and this is directed to the Labour councillor. In your opening speech, you said that we need stability and competence in our council, but it's true that the Labour council has been hemorrhaging millions of pounds in legal fees during this council. Do you think that is a marker of stability and competency? And to the other candidates, what would you do to try and prevent that hemorrhaging of money?
Thanks for the question, Owen. People are probably baffled as to why the council is hemorrhaging legal funds. That's because the relatives of people whose loved ones were in the care homes were forced to take legal action against the council to try and keep them open. The council decided to contest what the relatives were bringing. When it went to the High Court, they hired a barrister, then they hired a King's Counsel, and they then went to the High Court to challenge that again on appeal because they lost the first hearing, and the council did the same. And the campaign put in a Freedom for Information request to ask how much the council is spending on these legal resources, and there has been no response. Every councillor, including James and Tanisha, were written to, told that they cannot discuss the residential care homes in open council meetings. Everybody was silenced, and therefore they had no other option to take legal action. And it was the same with the sports centres. At Deaton Sports Centre, I helped the campaigners to bring a legal challenge against the council through Lee Day, and the council rebuffed that. They have a legal services department, but they choose to outsource that to more expensive solicitors and barristers, and still to this day, the question has not been answered as to how much they have spent of your money in order to contest local residents who are trying to keep services open. I think that's a disgrace. And the other question about community support, I think I've answered. In terms of what I would like to see happen, we have to enable communities to have a voice, because the questions that people keep raising on the doorstep during this campaign is, no one's listening to us. And my simple answer to that is, we need to get organised, we need to amplify your voice. The more people that are involved in that, the more opportunity there is that you will be listened to.
So, I mean, hemorrhaging legal fees translates as defending a judicial review that was brought against the council, basically. I think that's fair enough. Of course, if there's a legal challenge, the council is going to defend its position. That would be crazy not to do that. And I think the council won on the judicial review on that point as well. In terms of the local stuff, yeah, so I think this is the things that we should be focusing on. As local ward councillors, what can we actually do locally? As I said at the start, we have a ward budget. We can invest that in local groups and things. So to give you the examples of what I've been working on, you mentioned the bread and butter thing. We've invested in that. The Deaton Carnival, we've invested in that. The Kickstart Youth Group here, we've helped them, invested in that. In terms of the youth hub at Northfield Hall, we've invested in that to make sure that's got the funding it needs. In the past, we've supported groups like YPD over in Bradley, all those sorts of things. So that's what I'd be working on, and continuing to fund and invest in those things locally, and making the argument. I think it is a fair point to say let's get more resources into youth services from the council centrally as well. We absolutely need to do that. We've got more capacity to do that now. I'd definitely be arguing for that.
Legal fees are a nightmare. Maybe there should have been more community interaction before decisions like that were made, so that money wasn't wasted from both sides. Community means community. What's important to a community? A sports centre, a swimming baths. I was born and brought up in Dewsbury. Their swimming baths hasn't been used for years because it's got rat concrete. There's nothing wrong with the sports centre. If they demolished the swimming baths, put a new entrance on, it could have been up and running within 6 months, and it's been years. And the people of Dewsbury just feel so despondent about that. And it's not a difficult decision, and it's not a lot of money to get a resource back on board. All those poor people that worked in that sports centre lost their jobs, and the swimming baths as well. So that's where community needs to have more influence on councillors. Unfortunately, councillors in Dewsbury would have, lots of independence, and they didn't seem to talk to each other, which hasn't helped. But sometimes we just need to find those solutions before we get to silly legal situations, and what really is the best for the community.
Right, thank you everyone. It is 7 o'clock now, so we are going to wrap up. Before we wrap up though, I'm going to invite the councillors for up to 1 minute for any closing remarks, finishing remarks of why why people should vote for you.
One minute. I don't have much further to add to what I've already said, other than to say what I said at the beginning. I'm a fighter, I'm a campaigner, and I don't know when to stop. Where there's a cause and I see an injustice, then I'll dive in and try and assist. That's why I've had endorsements from the Dementia Care Homes campaign, from the Cleckheaton Against Harmful Development campaign, from the Dewsbury Sports Centre campaign, from the Muslim Vote, from Huddersfield Freedom for Palestine. All those local groups are backing me because they see the work that I've been trying to do over the last 10 years to help this community. And I hope in recognising that work, and in particular what we were able to do in saving the hospital, when everyone told us, including the council, it's a done deal, there's nothing you can do. Our response to that, as Nicola will well remember, was it's a done deal if you do now. And that is my slogan. If you stand up and fight, you can win. If you don't, and I'm afraid Kirklees Council has not fought the government for extra resources, you will always lose.
So like I say, I've also had a lot to say, so not much more to add, but I would say that what I'm going to be focusing on is local issues, what's happening in Ashbrow, the things we can deliver here and running the council. I think campaigning's great, but I think it's different than running the council and being a councillor. I think we need to be there to invest in the community, support residents and take decisions that are important for Kirklees. That's what I'll be doing. I hope I've got a good track record that you can see that I've worked hard over the last 10 years, that I've delivered for people, and that's why I'm asking for your vote on the 7th of May.
I'd just like to say it's been great to see you all today. I hope you've got a bit more of an impression of what a Green councillor or a Green politician looks like. We're not the same. We are trying to spread a different message. We can bring hope to communities. We can pull communities together. And when Green councillors are elected, they stay elected and the communities grow. So that's what I want to bring to Ashbrow and my two running colleagues as well. Thank you.
Right, well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening and for taking part in what's been an important conversation for our community. I'd like to thank all of the candidates for giving up their time tonight, for sharing their views and for engaging respectfully with both each other and the residents here tonight. Events like this matter because local democracy works best when people feel informed, involved and able to ask questions about the issues that affect their daily lives. Tonight's been about hearing different perspectives, understanding priorities and giving residents the opportunity to connect directly with those seeking to represent Ashbrow. Whether you came here with a firm view or simply to learn more, I hope this evening has helped you feel better informed about the local elections. I'd also like to thank everyone who attended in person, online. We did also have someone who attended from Denmark, so that's really positive to see. No, someone else. And for those who have submitted questions tonight, your participation is what makes events like these worthwhile. So whatever your political views, I encourage everyone to take part in the democratic process and use your vote on election day. Please remember to take ID with you when you're voting in person. And I'd like to thank some special thank yous, please. I'd like to thank Kirklees TV for filming this tonight and helping to organise this. And to local services to you as well for use of the building tonight. So thank you again everyone for attending. I hope you have a safe journey home and good night.